Hi there, welcome back to my channel. I'm rapidpeach and thanks for joining me today. In 2019, I came out as agender here on YouTube and across the internet in general. And a couple months after I came out, I did a video talking about my agender dysphoria. There'll be a link to that in the cards and in the description. In that video, I talked about a couple of different things that caused me body dysphoria. If you don't know what dysphoria is, the dictionary definition is a state of unease or dissatisfaction. And when referring to body dysphoria, it's essentially just things about your body that make you feel uncomfortable. A lot of people who are under the trans and non-binary umbrella experience dysphoria, although some cis people do as well. So in the video where I talked about my dysphoria as an agender person, I talked about a few different parts of my body that were causing me dysphoria at the time. Since it's been 2 years and a lot of things have happened for me personally, I thought I would make an update video and let you know where I am now as far as dysphoria is concerned. So we're going to be referring back to my video that I made in 2019 and giving updates, as well as talking about some new things like my dysphoria while I was pregnant and now being postpartum. I do want to give a warning though, there are going to be some anatomical terms in this video, specifically referring to AFAB bodies, but also some AMAB body terms as well. So if you're uncomfortable with those anatomical terms, this might not be the video for you, or maybe skip around or just be aware that they're incoming. And by the way, before we get started, if you're not subscribed to the channel already, make sure you go down and subscribe. About 98% of people who watch my videos are not subscribed to the channel, which hurts me. So if you enjoy this video at all, or think you'd be interested in learning more about LGBT plus stuff, make sure you go down and subscribe. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. So I don't feel any dysphoria revolving around my vagina or anything down there. I don't wish I had a penis. I don't want to get a hysterectomy. I like the thought of being able to have a child one day, maybe. That being said, I'm physically unable to right now because I have slipped discs in my back, but that's a different story. So nothing down there bothers me whatsoever. So in 2019, I was not experiencing any dysphoria around my genitalia. That has not changed. In fact, I've become even more comfortable with them over the past couple of years. It's been very nice for me, honestly, not having that kind of dysphoria in my life. I did mention that I wanted to eventually conceive a child that was biologically my own, and that has since happened. I'm very happy that during the pregnancy I did not experience any dysphoria around my lower half, especially with the amount of doctor's visits I had and constant checkups down there, and then obviously the birth. It was very nice that I did not experience any dysphoria in that area of my body. I still don't experience any dysphoria, and I don't want to have any changes done down there. I still don't have penis envy. It's not something that I want. I have no desire for testes either. And I have seen quite a few people who are agender talk about wishing that they didn't have anything down there. While I can definitely see that point of view, that's also not something that I would be interested if that were a possibility, which at the moment it isn't. So I am just comfortable with what I have going on. But I do feel a lot of dysphoria revolving around my chest, particularly because I have a big one. You might not be able to tell when I'm like wearing t-shirts and stuff, but I actually do have quite a big chest, and especially when I am ovulating or when I get PMS, usually when I get PMS, they get overwhelmingly large. I'd make a great porn star, but that's, In that clip, I talked about my chest dysphoria and about how big my bazongas are. Bazongas. Boobas? Breasts. Chest. How big my chest is. I did have quite a large chest then. That's just a fact. I was a 32 double D at the time, which is pretty big, especially for my size body. It's gotten bigger. Needless to say, with having a child and with breastfeeding, it's gotten a whole lot bigger. I have not put on a cupped bra in over a year at this point, so I'm not quite sure the exact size, but I am busting out of a large nursing bra. I would probably be very comfortable in an extra large at this point, and they have at least, I don't know, maybe tripled in size. They're huge now. But do I feel any dysphoria around them? Yes and no. On the one hand, I do feel dysphoric about them when nothing's happening, right? So if I'm sitting around the house, kind of feeling dysphoria. If I am putting on a tight-fitting shirt, or I'm trying to button up a shirt that no longer fits me, or like with putting on the nursing bra, which is very tight, I do feel pretty dysphoric about that. I don't want them to be as large as they are. On the other hand, though, because they have a purpose for me now, they're feeding my child, that actually diminishes the dysphoria quite a bit, or at least lets me forget about it a lot of the time. Because my parts have purpose now, because I'm actually actively using them, they feel more like they're supposed to be there and like they need to be there right now. That being said, in the future, I am definitely thinking about what I'm gonna have done to my chest, if anything. I have thought about, though I have not made any decisions regarding getting a breast reduction at some point. I don't think I would ever have a completely flat chest, have complete top surgery done, because I don't think that would look good on me. I am quite used to having some degree of breast tissue, so I can't really imagine myself without any, but I'm definitely considering having a breast reduction done at some point in the future. That being said, that is very far off for me. Many years. If it ever happens, it will be done many, many years from now. So I am actively working on trying to be more comfortable with myself, with what I have. Maybe I'll make another video 2 or 5 or 10 years from now, reviewing this video where I talk about how my chest dysphoria has evolved since now. We'll see. So especially when my breasts are being extra big, hormones are making them massive, I get extremely dysphoric around them, which is a big problem for me because I also don't like to bind or wear a sports bra at all. Wearing something around my chest, like a binder or a sports bra or a bralette, makes me pay more attention to it, and that's the exact opposite of what I want when I'm feeling dysphoric. I want to try and not pay attention to it whatsoever. So I'm kind of between a rock and a hard place. That being said, when they're not being huge, I generally don't care about my chest. When they're at their normal large, it's totally fine, but when they're at the extra large, it's a big problem for me. And this has not changed at all. I still do not like the idea of binding. I don't like drawing any attention to my chest. Although where in the past it was more because I didn't like the feeling of binding or of wearing a tight sports bra or something like that, now it's because I don't like the feeling of anything touching me there. I don't even really like how shirts feel touching, but I think that's mostly just because I'm very sensitive right now. And also because, like I said, I don't have the right size nursing bra. It is too small. So it's very tight and it hurts. This video is turning into me telling you I need to go shopping for a new nursing bra. Let's go on to the next part. I have tiny little arms. I mean, look at these. I've been working out, mind you, all year, pretty consistently, and this is the amount of muscle I have. This. It's nearly nothing. I feel a lot of dysphoria around my arms. I have tiny wrists, I have tiny little arms the whole way, and that causes a lot of problems for me. Alright, in this portion of the video, I talked about my arms, the wiggly things. My arm dysphoria has... Okay, this is kind of hard to explain. My arm dysphoria has stayed the same. I do not like how skinny my arms are. They're weak little arms for the most part. They're getting a little bit of muscle, but not much. So my arms specifically do still cause me a little bit of dysphoria. Actually, I wouldn't even say that. I'm still uncomfortable with my arms, even if they're not causing me active dysphoria like they used to. However, because my body image has improved on the whole, which I'll talk about more in just a second, I am not distracted by my arms. They don't actively cause me any problems. However, because my body image as a whole has improved, I'm not distracted by my arms. I don't have any attention called to my arms at any given time, so I am not thinking about them. And by not thinking about them, I am not experiencing dysphoria from them. I do think they kind of fit my body with how it is right now, so I am relatively comfortable. I don't think about them on a regular basis. When I do, I get a little uncomfortable, but again, not really thinking about them, so I'm not really feeling anything. So being so short and so small, it's very easy for people to gender me as female, as a girl. I get that. I'm not going to get mad at anyone who's going to misgender me, because I present very feminine, even if that's not what I want. This section I find very interesting because it's probably what has changed the very most for me in the past 2 years. I used to have a lot of problems with being perceived as being a woman, being perceived very feminine. I didn't like the fact that I was seen as a woman, as feminine. And though I understood when people did it and I didn't get offended by it, it still hurt. It still didn't feel very good to be seen that way. And while I still wish that my gender wasn't automatically assumed to be female, be a woman, it really doesn't bother me at this point at all. Obviously, please continue to respect my pronouns and use they, them, but you might have noticed I am presenting a lot more feminine now than I was a couple years ago. I have longer hair. You can't tell, but I'm wearing a dress. In my most recent videos, I've been wearing a low-cut shirt. Overall, you can tell that I have moved away from the idea of looking androgynous, and I'm just kind of looking how I want to look. It's just being comfortable with how I look. Believe it or not, that's not an accident. I did a lot of soul searching at the end of 2019 and the beginning of 2020. At the end of 2019, I went on a family vacation where I went as far from the societal gender norms as I possibly could. Where all of my cousins had to wear fancy dresses, I decided to wear a suit. I was actively trying to portray myself as androgynous or as masculine as possible, even though in retrospect, it really didn't fit me. So again, at the end of 2019, the beginning of 2020, I did a lot of soul searching, and I kind of just figured I wanted to be comfortable. As much as I don't want to talk about the pandemic, having time to just be inside and be by myself made me think a lot less about what society wanted me to look like or how society perceived me. Oops. Okay, camera died. So as much as I don't want to talk about the pandemic, having to be inside, having to be under lockdown, made me think a lot less about how I was being perceived by other people and made me just want to be comfortable in myself. As I went through that, I realized that I wanted to wear a lot of pastels. I wanted to grow my hair out again. I just wanted to be comfortable. And I'm pretty comfortable in loose, flowy clothing and having longer pink hair. And this is another thing that changed a lot with pregnancy. And pregnancy did help me a lot to get over this sort of societal feminine presenting dysphoria. Now there's a police car. Remind me to never leave the window open when I'm filming ever again. I'm gonna go ahead and close that. And this is yet another thing that was drastically improved upon by getting pregnant. Gosh, they are loud. Living in a capital city is really fun. This is yet another one of those things that was drastically improved upon by my getting pregnant. Not to harp on the subject at all. Especially as I got bigger and further along in the pregnancy, I have only been seen as a woman. By everyone. Doctors, obviously. Strangers in the elevator, strangers on the street. Waitresses, other healthcare professionals, a lot of family members. Not all of them, thankfully, but a lot of them. So that is something that I have just had to learn to deal with. I've been called mom and mama by so many strangers that I've had so many strangers refer to me as being a woman and calling me mom that I've kind of just learned to shrug it off and not be uncomfortable with it anymore. Obviously, I don't like it. I wish it didn't happen, but when it comes down to it, people's opinions of me and people's ideas of who I am don't actually have any say on who I am. People on the street can think anything they want of me, and it does not actually mean that it's true. That is something that took me years to get comfortable with. And even now, being postpartum, I don't want to wear dresses all the time, but they're pretty comfortable, so I'm definitely putting them back into my rotation a lot more often. I guess overall what I'm trying to say is being feminine presenting doesn't have any say over my actual gender identity. I'm just doing what feels the most comfortable for me, and at the moment, that is just having long hair and wearing frilly dresses. We'll see how that evolves in the future. If it does. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Another thing that causes me a little bit of dysphoria is my voice. I have so many outtakes of when I start a sentence with a really high, shrill voice and then, drop an octave to try and sound a little bit more normal. So my voice does cause me a little bit of dysphoria. And finally, we have my voice. I did have some issues with my voice in the past, with how high pitched it was. Luckily for me, I work in customer service and I take a lot of calls from customers. While I am always misgendered on the phone, so many people say yes ma'am, and I don't like that. Can't we just not refer to people by genders? Like ma'am and sir. Can we just not do that? So even though I have been misgendered constantly talking on the phone, something that I have gotten really good at is my voice control. I learned very quickly how to speak on the phone with authority and how to be respected on the phone by especially angry customers. And the way to do that was by speaking in a lower register. While I do still sometimes slip into my higher register, either because I have typical customer service voice or because I'm trying to relay information to somebody in like a really friendly way or something like that, I do have better control of speaking in a tone that makes me a lot more comfortable. For example, right now, I'm only a little bit higher than I normally would be in everyday conversation, and I'm pretty comfortable right here. So I'm happy that I have gotten better at controlling my tone of voice. That makes it so that when I do slip into a higher register, I can either catch myself and lower it, or I can realize that I'm putting on a higher register for a specific reason, and I can live with that. So in conclusion, compared to my 2019 Agender Dysphoria video, things have gotten a lot better for me, which is awesome. I am still very much agender. That has not changed at all. I haven't thought about, maybe I am actually a woman. I haven't debated, maybe using she and they pronouns, things like that. None of that's on the table for me. I'm not a woman. My pronouns are not she, her. I am still very much just a human. My pronouns are they, them. I am agender. And when it comes down to it, I am much more comfortable in my body now because I have realized that my body does not dictate my gender. And again, because I have found ways to put my body parts to use, and I have found ways to add muscle in areas of my body that I thought were a little bit small. And I do have plans in the future for what I want to do to my body once I can start actively working out again, to just tighten everything up. The way that people perceive me doesn't have any impact on my gender at all at this point, especially strangers, since I'm never going to see them again, or if I do, I really don't care what they think about me. I'm just happy. I'm just comfortable. Everything is good. No problems. So yeah, that's pretty great. I hope this video has been interesting and maybe even helpful to you. I know that when I first realized I was agender, I thought things would never get better. I thought I was going to be uncomfortable with all of those parts of my body forever. And even just 2 years later, I feel a lot better. I feel a lot more validated in who I am. And that's only a good thing, That's a good thing. So I hope that this video was interesting and maybe even helpful to you. If you have any specific questions for me about dysphoria, please leave them down below in the comments. I might not have gotten to everything, or you might have other things that you wanted me to talk about, so I'm more than happy to answer questions down in the comments. Otherwise, I think that's about it from me. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for clicking on this video and watching until the very end. I'll see you next week for another LGBT+ video. Hope you're looking forward to it, and I hope you have a great week. Alright, that's all from me. Jizzy. I need an outro.